Hi there, Shortcuts. Stephen here. This is the video for Shortcuts Records. Price list will come out 9 p.m. Sydney time on Wednesday, June 26th. That's 3 days from now. You have 3 days to consume 2 lists. A roots list, kind of genre list, and a classic rock list. This is always my favorite, the roots list. We've got country, we got funk, we've got soul, certainly blues, soundtracks, jazz, all sorts for you tonight. If you like what you see, if there's something that intrigues you, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. That email's in the channel notes below. All right, as always, start off with a quiz. Not always, something I've been starting recently. I've got a quiz. If you stick around to the last record, you'll get the answer to the quiz. The question is, this singer has apparently written over 5,000 songs and recorded 956 of them. And I'm going to talk about this person and the record that I love from this person as the last record in this list. So if you make it to there, then you'll find out who that is. So who could that be? Over 5,000 songs, recorded 956 of them. And if you include live versions and various remixes, etc., over 1,100. It's remarkable. Who could that be? All right, you'll find out in about 15 minutes' time. All right, where to start? Man, I got some classics in here, but I'm actually going to start with my personal favorite record from this list. And it is this. Melting Pot by Booker T and the MGs. This is the Japanese first press on the classic, and I mean classic, yellow Stax label. Look at that. Booker T and the MGs Melting Pot. This is by far and away Booker T and the MGs' greatest album. And it is one of the greatest albums in the history of Stax. And you all know how much I love Stax. So why is this album so great? So Booker T and the MGs have been playing together for, probably 10 years before this album came out. This is the last album they did as the classic lineup. And on the back sleeve here, you get to see who that is. There's Booker T, Steve Cropper on guitar. You've got... Steve Cropper on guitar down here. Up here, you've got the amazing Donald Duck Dunn on bass. And over here, you've got the absolutely tragic Alan Jackson Jr. on drums. The classic lineup. These guys this band backed everyone on the Stax label. William Bell, obviously. And they made Bill Withers, they made so many bands. This amazing, amazing band. Why did I say Alan Jackson Jr., the tragic figure? Well, this album was made in 1971. The last album they made as the classic four. Far better than Green Onions, far better than Macklemore Avenue, far better than Soul Limbo. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The opening track, Melting Pot, is 8 minutes long. It has about 3 time signatures. It starts off as like almost what you can unfairly accuse Booker T and the MGs of being kind of a little bit elevatory music-y. That disappears within about 20 seconds. This thing hits a groove. The drumming on this album is astounding, just incredible. The guitar playing from Steve Cropper, obviously an amazing guitar player. And on the side 2 of this record, he plays acoustic guitar, finger-picked acoustic guitar, and it is amazing. Back Home, the second track, has this blues breakdown that I am like, every time I hear it, I'm like, why didn't they just turn this into something Man, but it's bookended by these two kind of funky kind of sections. The opening track of side two, kind of easy like, which makes sense, is nearly 9 minutes of the most outrageous groove. I love this album. It's absolutely brilliant. If you haven't heard it, give it a go. Chicken Pox, another track on side one. Steve Cropper's guitar playing on Chicken Pox, my gosh, amazing. And, Al Jackson Jr., like 3 or 4 years after this record was made, was going through an acrimonious time with his wife. And in an argument, she shot him in the chest, and he didn't press charges. I don't know how he survived. I don't really know all the details. I haven't read his biography. But he went to see, with actually Eddie Floyd from Stax, because Booker T and the MGs backed Eddie Floyd's classic Stax records, Knock on Wood, etc. Anyway, they went to see the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier Thriller in Manila fight, 1975, on the big screen. I can't remember what city. Anyway, they got back, and Al Jackson Jr. went into his house and found an intruder, and he was shot 5 times in the back. And they, and obviously he died, but there was a lot of rumors as to who the attacker was, and the theory was that it was a boyfriend of someone related to his wife or a friend of his wife's. Nothing ever stuck, and then that person died in a shootout with the police a little while later. So a tragic end to an absolutely legendary band, Melting Pot, Booker T, and the MGs. Now, when you see what Melting Pot beat out into second place, you're going to realize just how much I love that album. In second place, in second record, I have the Japanese first press of What's Going On. Now, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? What an extraordinarily beautiful man. Seriously. I have a few Marvin Gaye t-shirts. I don't have any Marvin Gaye t-shirts, but I've got the Warriors on today. The Warriors, February 1979. What was that? £2.50 on the door to see the Warriors. But yeah, what a record. Enough said. Nothing can be said. The Japanese pressings of this record are wonderful. I've had a few first presses over the years. This is as good as any I've seen. All right. Third record on the list is something very different. I doubt any of you know this record. I've had it for a while. I've managed to find another copy, and I'm very pleased about that. It is Cosmology. You heard on the Vanguard label. Now, Cosmology, really interesting record. Only record this band ever made, and there's very, very little information out there about them. The only thing that I can even halfway ascribe this band to is something like a jazzier Jefferson Airplane. Male, female voices, predominantly female in some tracks. Her name is Dawn Thompson, and she's got this very airy voice. It is very kind of fusiony in pieces, but not fusion as in mathematical fusion. It is very melodic, jazz-driven, lots of congas and percussion. There's some sitar by probably one of the more famous sitar players at the time, Colin Walcott, who tried to make the sitar more famous. There's flugelhorn and everything you might expect from those kind of jazz fusion records. But it's really cool, and I really like it. And if you look at the reviews on Discogs, this is the US first press. This is the only press there ever was. There was no other pressing of this. You'll see how much people love this. It's even got the original Vanguard artist's insert. Really, really beautiful, cool thing. All right, let's move on to something very different. This is early Chet Baker. Chet Baker, a big band. Now, this is kind of a big band. I mean, I think there's, it changes. On the opening 3-4 tracks, there's 10 or 11 players, and then on the remaining tracks, there's significantly less, 7 or 8. But it's really beautiful, as you might imagine. This is much more bop than big band, though, and that's clearly Chet Baker's influence. He just can't go there. And also, it's got one of my favorite pianists, Bobby Timmons, just holding the line with Art Pepper on drums. It's really, really cool. And one of my favorite little tidbits about this band is the second band, the slightly smaller band, has Mr. James Bond on bass guitar, which is a very, very interesting coincidence, because the next record on the list is Thunderball by John Barry. See what I did there? Big beat, Chet Baker, all-time classic, really beautiful thing. Now, this is a really interesting record. It is not on Spotify. You can't listen to it anywhere. But this, I think, has to be the best James Bond soundtrack. Now, there's a few reasons for that. A couple of them are, look at the Japanese did an astounding job of James Bond soundtracks. They really did. So why is this one so interesting? Well, it's a little bit of a leap, but go with me. This is one of, I think arguably the only James Bond movie that had 2 title tracks. Now, initially, the movie was going to be called, and I'm not sure if it was going to be called this, but the song that was recorded, which was going to be over the title tracks, was Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I'm trying to remember who sang it. Oh, man. I think it was Whitney Houston's and Dionne Warwick. I'm pretty sure it was Dionne Warwick. And then they changed the title to Thunderball. And that is when Mr. Tom Jones came to the fore. So the opening track is Thunderball Tom Jones, and the closing track is Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Pretty sure it's Dionne Warwick. And then in between, you've got the Bond theme mixed in with all the scenes from the movie, which is one of the better movies. And it has those fantastic underwater scenes, which you can really get a sense of as well. Particularly in the second side of this, there's an amazing crescendo to the Bond theme that, honestly, when I hear it, I just want to stand up and just cheer. It's so good. But the notes by which John Barry holds the themes together are more from Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which makes sense because that's what he thought he was working with. So it doesn't swing back to Thunderball that often. And then you hear these little motifs, and then at the end you hear Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and you're like, oh, that's how it works. But what's really cool about that is it actually kind of hangs it together. And I'm not a massive soundtrack fan, but I really like this one. It's really good. Okay, talking about unnatural segues that I keep bumping into with this particular video. I'm not a massive Eric Clapton fan either, but I have what I think are his 2 best records here, and they're quite different. The first is this, early Clapton, really when he was coming into his own, and it is Blues Breakers, John Mayall featuring Eric Clapton. Now, Clapton just coming out of the Yardbirds, where he was kind of hamstrung. He didn't do his thing. And you can kind of see you can feel him on leash because John Mayall clearly trusted him, and you only have to listen to track 2, Hideaway, which is his all-instrumental cover of a great tune by Freddie King, one of my heroes. He absolutely flies off on a complete trip. And that song, there's books written about how influential this song was on blues guitarists and subsequently rock guitarists who were right into this record and right into Clapton. He improvises quite a bit on this record as well. As I said, it's like his coming out party. It's like his Deb's ball. He's in fine form. And then, to me anyway, things go wrong for him. I don't like his solo records. I think they're kind of bland, and he just was seemingly uninspired. John Mayall obviously inspired the hell out of him. And then he met Duane Allman, who was even younger than him and probably even better than him. And they made Layla and Assorted Love Songs, Derek and the Dominoes. This is a fabulous copy, Japanese first press. This is more of a blues record than a rock record, even though it has Layla, which has that great riff. You only have to listen to something like Bell Bottom Blues, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, Key to the Highway, Tell the Truth, Why Does Love Got to Be So Bad, Have You Ever Loved a Woman, his amazing blues cover version with Little Wing, where the two of them, Duane Allman and the other guitarist who I can't remember now off the top of my head, the two of them just inspiring each other to go more and more. It has to be one of the great cover versions of all time. Yeah, Layla and Assorted Love Songs. And Blues Breakers, I think, the two touchstone records, Mr. Eric Clapton. I am running so over time, my sincere apologies. Okay, talking about great guitarists, Grant Green. Grant Green, the main attraction. This is a kind of soundtrack themed record that he made with an amazing lineup. Steve Can on guitar, Will Lee on bass, Hubert Laws, full horn section. This is not jazz. And look, you know how much on the Kudu label it tells you all you need to know. This is not jazz. This is blues funk, the whole way, and it is amazingly well recorded. The sound quality is stonking. Grant Green. That's a very unusual Grant Green record. Oh my gosh, I've still got 5 to go. I'm gonna have to be quick. This is on the London label, a bit of a lost Ray Charles record. This is Renaissance. Ray Charles, I think it's 74 or 75. This is, look at the sleeve of him cracking the Ray Charles egg. There's a couple of cover versions in here that are notable. Living for the City and Sail Away by Randy Newman. And you might think that the Stevie Wonder and Randy Newman versions are definitive until you hear Ray Charles doing those songs, and then you're going to wonder. It's a really cool record. You all know how much I love Art Blakey. This is the Japanese first press of Smake It, which I believe is kind of like slang for let's go. This is the Japanese first press of this early to mid 60s outing. Now, on this record, you have some killer musicians. Curtis Fuller is on this record. It's all in Japanese, unfortunately, and I can't remember off the top of my head who else is on there, but I'll put it in the notes. Really, I mean, I love Art Blakey. I've got the US first press of this particular record, and I love it to pieces. It's a little bit more kind of swing big bandy, but not quite. It's still Art Blakey. He's still incredible. All right. The Kicker, Bobby Hutcherson. This is a Blue Note recent tone poet. This for those of you who don't know what Tone Poet is, it is Blue Note's reissue vehicle for what they consider to be their premium records from their back catalogue. Now, what's interesting about the kicker, Bobby Hutcherson, which features Joe Henderson on sax, Bobby Hutcherson obviously on vibes, Grant Green on guitar on only 3 out of the 5 tracks, Duke Pearson on piano, who's just everywhere, Al Harewood, who's just everywhere. It didn't get released until the 90s, and when you listen to it, it is really hard to tell why. It is beautifully recorded. It's really cool music. I have 2 theories. One, Grant Green only plays on a few of the songs, and maybe they thought that kind of makes it sound a bit lopsided, and it is a bit weird because the first 2 tracks are non-Grant Green, then he appears and the tonality completely changes. The second theory I have is that some of the songs that are on here are on other records that I have. And so I wonder whether, like the kicker, and I just wonder whether they thought, well, people aren't going to buy the same songs again. I'm not sure. But when you listen to it, well, clearly they realized, because when they made it a Tone Poet, they must have realized where we sat on something amazing here, and what the hell were we thinking? Anyway, really, really great. All right. Love this. Elvis sings Christmas songs. Blue Christmas, Silent Night, White Christmas, Santa Claus is back in town. Every day was like Christmas, oh little Bethlehem, etc., etc. Cheesy but great, don't you think? Look at that sleeve as well. Elvis's Christmas album. Now, back to the quiz question. Who figured it out? Written over 5,000 songs, recorded 956 of them. And this, I think, is one of her great records. Now, I only know this record because Vinyl Me Please did a thing over the last year where they released one Dolly Parton album a month as a special kind of program. And I only dipped in and out of it. I bought their release of Jolene, and I bought a couple of others. But this is the one that I've fallen in love with the most, and I've managed to get another copy. It is My Tennessee Mountain Home by Dolly Parton. Now that is the little mini poster that you get with the record. Obviously you get the OB, and there's little notes, and it is an astounding package. They went right the way back. I'm just going to read it here. AAA lacquers cut from tapes by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound, pressed on exclusive 180 gram Smoky Mountain Galaxy vinyl. It sounds and looks spectacular. And she's recorded 956 of the songs that she's written. Over 4,000 others went to others or sat in her vault. Mind-blowing. All right, there we have it. What a list. Now watch out for the second list, which has got a bunch of $30 and $35 classic rock records that'll fill gaps on your shelves. But there's the soul, blues, jazz, soundtrack, funk list. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry I went on so long, but I just love these records. Any feedback, please drop me a note in the comments. I love all of them. Or send me, or if there's anything you think you might like, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. Bye.